Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is Jeanne-Marie Taylor of Jeanne-Marie Taylor Muse Readings, Healings, and Meditations. Welcome to today's channeled message. I am so excited to be here with you, to be right beside you right now, bringing you high quality, uplifting healings and meditations and channeled messages and tips for upgrading your intuitive and healing powers and really anything else my guides and angels and yours want me to share. I'm on a mission, and that mission is to help you to remember your strength, your brilliance, the way that you light up the world and everything around you, and your abundance of gifts and giftedness. And I want to thank you so much. Thank you for your likes, your comments. Each one is precious to me. And I want to thank you also for subscribing so that you don't miss any messages. You know, I'm looking to create something here with you, a sense of community, a sense of our interwovenness with each other, a circle of love and healing and belonging. So I'm super glad you're here, adding your energy, your beautiful vibration to this experience. So we'll be getting to our channeled message in just a moment. But before that, I feel inspired today to talk about another little piece of the Buddhist concept of right speech. I love drawing upon the wisdom of various traditions of the world, and the Buddhist notion of right speech is truly one of my favorites. This is a concept that has helped me to be more at peace, more successful in my relationships with my husband, Creed, and really with everyone, including myself. As we touched on yesterday, the concept of right speech centers on using words that are true, balanced, necessary, and kind. Yesterday, we discussed the fact that right speech is not just something special that we do for others. It's also a gift that we give ourselves. And you might be wondering why. Why is it so important? Well, because when we aim to do this each and every day, when we aim to be loving toward ourselves, we are building piece by piece a peaceful little loving nest for ourselves, a beautiful nest of thoughts and feelings that are warm and nurturing and cozy, thoughts and feelings that can actually support us and nourish us and help us to do all it is that we want to do in life, whether we have huge goals or beautifully simple goals. Positive self-coaching is part of centering ourselves and keeping ourselves grounded in a world where things are just often thrown at us, right? So just like a beautiful live oak tree in my native New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, a tree that is so strong and so deeply rooted, when we ourselves are well grounded, when we have taken the time to create a good headspace for ourselves, our lives can start moving into some beautiful new directions. So today I want to focus on another one of the components of right speech. We noted yesterday that right speech involves using words that are true, balanced, necessary, and kind. And yesterday we talked about two of these. We discussed the importance of truthfulness and kindness in our self-talk, how to inject truthfulness and loving speech into our ongoing stream of consciousness. Well, today I'd like to talk about another part of right speech, and that is the importance of engaging in self-talk that is both balanced and necessary. So what do I mean? What is meant by the notion of self-talk that is balanced and necessary? Well, let's talk about balanced versus unbalanced first. What I have found in my own case is that if the narrative in my head is starting to feel a bit off kilter. Like if I get triggered by something that is worrying me, it can send me off on a tangent that can make it hard for me to instantly rebalance my thoughts. It might take a little while. It sometimes takes a great deal of effort to refocus on calming thoughts. So that's what we mean by unbalanced. Now let's talk about necessary versus unnecessary thoughts. I have noticed over the years that very often when I go off on a tangent of worried thoughts, when my thoughts become skewed toward things like worry or frustration, this kind of thinking pattern is often completely unnecessary. So some of you may be thinking, hey, trust me, all of my thoughts are necessary. I can't just chop out some of my thoughts. Why should we judge our own thoughts? Maybe shouldn't we just be kind to ourselves? Well, absolutely yes, we should be kind to ourselves. But I do want to propose to you that you too probably have some thoughts that if you really thought about them, probably are somewhat unnecessary. So one example of an unnecessary thought is what happened to me just the other day. I was thinking about a dear friend of mine, and she and I have gotten really pretty close, so I can't really imagine her not being in my life. And so when she told me that her daughter was going to be bringing her food for Easter, and that due to COVID-19 restrictions at her retirement community, a staffer there would be the middleman, so to speak, bringing her daughter's food up to her apartment, I have to admit I started to worry. And one worried thought led to another, and then another, and another. It probably sounds familiar, right? And by the way, this can happen a lot when it's the first thing in the morning. Have you ever noticed that? It can be really hard to curate your thoughts when you're not fully awake and in command of your thinking. So off I went. I started to imagine how easy it would be for her to potentially get exposed to the virus by doing something as innocent as picking up a bag of food dropped off by a staffer in front of her door. So next thing you know, I was almost in tears thinking about what it would feel like to lose my friend. This is just how our minds can work sometimes. It's what experienced meditators actually call monkey mind. We're just swinging through the branches from one worrisome thought to another, to another, to another. The unnecessary part is this. If you really stop to think about it, yeah, it's sort of sweet that I was worried about my friend, but all I really needed to do was to talk to her, right? So I did. I reached out and I told her why I was concerned, and I asked her to forgive me if it seemed intrusive, but I told her that while I know that she has great judgment, it's just that I care so much and I just couldn't help worrying that maybe she could get the virus from that staffer delivering her food. Because you know what? As a matter of fact, scientists are telling us that the virus does live on surfaces for quite some time. So I was worried that she could pick it up on her bags of food. So I want you to notice something here. The tricky thing about troublesome thoughts or worries is that they most often don't come out of nowhere, right? You're not crazy when you have troubling thoughts. They come from somewhere. They have a little bit of a legitimate basis. If they came out of nowhere, they would be much easier to handle, right? The hard part is that our worries, our unnecessary thoughts are often based in reality. So yeah, in this case, there was a legitimate reason for me to be concerned. So I invite you to make a note to yourself right now. Just because your thought is based in reality, just because you're worried for what seems like a legitimate reason, doesn't mean that that thought is balanced or necessary. Anyway, here's where the good stuff happened. I reached out to her, I spoke to her, and she was able to tell me about her concerns and what she has been thinking and planning, her safety protocols, and just really every detail of how she was going to be handling the delivery, including the fact that she was going to be spraying down the bags and the packaging when her food got to her apartment. So I want you to notice something, that long cascade of thoughts and concerns and worries that I had. Well, yes, again, they were sweet. They were also based in reality, but my worries turned out to pretty much be unnecessary. I spent several minutes worrying, but in fact, it turned out that my friend had it all covered. And that is what I mean by unnecessary thoughts. So many, if not most, of our unnecessary thoughts seem to come from fear or anxiety. Some of our unnecessary thoughts are actually the result of traumas we've experienced in the past, or perhaps even in a past or other lifetime. So for example, if you didn't have enough food in your family as a child, if food was hard to come by, if your parents struggled to put food on the table, or if you have experienced that in a different lifetime, you indeed might be finding yourself worrying excessively at times about having enough food for yourself or your family. Habituated thoughts and unnecessary worries can be really hard to tame, but if we can start to become aware of our patterns of thinking, becoming aware of our unnecessary thoughts, it truly can be life-changing. In my own case, the lesson is usually this: stop worrying and take some action. If you can pick up the phone and get an answer that you need, then just do it, right? But sometimes we can't do that. And in those cases, one thing that you can do is just to make a conscious decision that you're going to let go of that thought. You can just hand that thought over to a higher power. Now, there is another way to reduce the amount of unnecessary and unbalanced thoughts or worries or thought clutter that's hanging around your head. And I want to talk about that. That method is to meditate. Now, bear with me for a moment. I know that the idea of meditation turns a lot of people off. So let me make this really easy. If you're like me, if you're someone who doesn't enjoy just sitting quietly and trying to empty your mind, you actually have several wonderful, relaxing options, things you can do even when you're feeling lazy and completely unmotivated, or maybe you're just too busy. So option one is this. Instead of trying to empty your head out completely, with just a little effort, you can start replacing the less than helpful content, the unnecessary or worrisome thoughts, with productive content, with loving and supportive and relaxing messages for yourself. One of the quickest ways to do this is by focusing on affirmations instead of what you were just thinking about. It's like changing the radio station in your head, and it actually really works. It's highly effective. And if you'd like an example of how amazing affirmations can be, I want to invite you to listen to the free version of my Immunity Booster experience, which you can find right here on my YouTube channel as the featured video, or you can look and you'll notice that I posted it within about the last 2 weeks. Doing a meditation with affirmations, like my Immunity Booster experience, allows you to literally replace your old, stale, useless, noisy, unnecessary thoughts with thoughts that you can use to actually upgrade your life, or in this case, to up-level the energetic performance of your immune system. Okay, option two. So instead of using your inner eye to picture the worst, which is what I did when I was worried about my friend, you can try a guided imagery meditation, one that will encourage you to visualize good things, to picture things that are beautiful and helpful and healing. And an example of this is my popular free healing meditations, like my Amethyst Infusion experience or my Metatronian healing mini session. So I will post the links below in the notes here, and that will allow you to download these if you would like to, so you can use them in the future. When we visualize what are sometimes called subtle energies, the very real energies that are invisible to the human eye, but which can be seen sometimes with our inner intuitive vision, this allows us to actually move and shift energy. So, in addition to chasing away negative, unnecessary thoughts, you will also be opening up your gift of clairvoyance, which is another name for our inner intuitive vision, which works in tandem with our ability to imagine and visualize. Every time you do one of my guided imagery sessions, you're actually experiencing a beautiful side effect. You are priming the pump of your clairvoyant gifts. And when we use our inner vision to visualize energies, to move energies, to bathe ourselves in divine energies, yes, we do all of those in my meditations. This is actually also a powerful form of self-healing. So that is yet another benefit. And clairvoyance itself is a great skill to learn. And if you're interested, by the way, please feel free to ask me about my low-cost sliding scale classes, because I teach intuitive development classes on most weekends, and it's super relaxing and super fun. Option 3 is a form of meditation for those who love crystals, especially if you're maybe new to crystals and you're not really sure yet how to work with them. This is a great way to start. So what I want to suggest is that you sit down or lie down next to a good light source, like a lamp, or you can sit out in the sun if you prefer, and just take with you a pretty crystal or a sacred stone and start just turning it over and over in your hand, holding it up to the light, gazing at it, gazing through it, being very observant, looking at it intently with an intention to connect with its energy. So there are two things going on here. You're using your physical eyes, and you're also using your intent to connect with the energies of the crystal. So it's almost like forming a friendship or forming a very special bond with the crystal. You know, there's a reason why crystals are so popular. Crystals can exert a healing influence. And while one of the ways to work with them is to hold them in your hands with your eyes shut, another beautiful thing to do is to have your eyes open and just study them intently, like you might look into the face of a wonderful person, a wonderful friend, and you really want to study their face. It's a beautiful thing to do with a crystal as well. And it's amazing what you'll see. You can often see things like shapes or even shapes inside of shapes. You can very often see rainbows or facets. When you are looking at a crystal, especially out in the sunlight, it's just an amazing experience. And you're not having to do any kind of formal meditation. You're just existing with your crystal. But it's really fascinating. You might end up seeing what looks like a veil inside of it. You might see something that looks like angels' wings. There's a lot to see inside of most crystals, and you can often see even more with a magnifying glass. If you give yourself about 10 minutes of just really losing yourself in crystal gazing, it really seems to purge unnecessary and worrisome thoughts. And you never know, you might even leave your crystal gazing session with an intuitive insight or two. Okay, so now we are at our last option, option number 4. And this one is for people who feel like they don't really have time to do any of the above. If you want to change your state of mind, if you want to have more positive self-talk, but you just have a split second, you can connect very quickly with your angels and spirit guides. So we all have angels, we all have guides. Yes, even if we're atheists or agnostics, angels and guides actually have nothing to do with any kind of organized religion. They are simply beings of love and light, and we can ask ask them, much in the same way that we might pray. We can ask them to help us to focus our thoughts. We're only human, right? And none of us was made to go through this life alone with no support. So our job in these challenging moments that we have, all of us have them, is just to remember that that support is there, even though you might not be able to see it. Truly it is there. And if you're not fully sure that you believe in angels and guides and guardians, that's really okay. Just know that they will help. You don't have to sign up for anything. Just ask and they will help. You can ask them to help you direct your thoughts in a more positive direction. You can ask them to help you curate your thoughts, editing out thoughts that are unnecessary and unhelpful. This really can work. When I am busy and I do this, I will usually find that within about 5 minutes or so, it feels like I'm back on track. So, if you, like me, are sometimes walking around with some thoughts that are just unnecessary, thoughts or feelings or worries that might be zapping part of the joy that you are entitled to experience in this lifetime, then I hope you can adopt at least one of these 4 ideas for taking charge of your thoughts and your self-talk, your inner coaching. After you've been using techniques like these for a while, you're going to get to the point where you can very quickly recognize when your thoughts are starting to go off track, when you're starting to get out of kilter, and you'll be much more able to get yourself back on track so that you're not being a slave to unpleasant thoughts or unnecessary thoughts and feelings. And as a special bonus, one thing I love is that if you are in a relationship with someone that you are intimate with and you really talk to them about things and you really care about them and you want to keep things positive, and if you've been doing this sort of work of monitoring and managing your inner dialogue, training your brain to function as you want it to, you will start to notice that sometimes 2 people together can start to go off track. Like, I might be feeling irritable one day and maybe I snip at you. But if you've been working on curating your thoughts and feelings and you've been giving yourself positive inner dialogue, then maybe instead of snipping back at me, you might start to be the one who is kind of the anchor in the situation, the one who can really recognize, like, we're about to go off the path of positivity here. And then you can help get us back on track instead of things devolving. It's a beautiful thing to have. It's a beautiful skill. You know, Creed and I have been so happily married for almost 18 years now, and part of it is because we both do this kind of work. Creed was actually meditating long before he met me, and we're able to identify when our thoughts and feelings are sort of going off track and get ourselves back on track with positivity fairly quickly. So I promise you, whatever time you invest in learning to cultivate positive self-talk, positive thoughts and feelings that are balanced, thoughts that are necessary and kind and true, you will be helping not just you, but also others who will be interacting with you. So I hope you enjoyed today's information and tips. And hey, if you feel comfortable sharing your experience here, I would love to hear from you. What works from you? How do you clear your head? What techniques do you use to try to get into a better state of mind, having better self-talk? Is there anything that we talked about today that you would like to try? Also, please let me know if you would like a link to some of my guided imagery healing meditations. Again, they are completely free, no strings attached. I don't even collect your email address. I'm just here to share these meditations and to serve you with meditations like this. Bottom line, you deserve more peace and harmony in your life. And one of these techniques will help you get it. Just don't give up in the meantime. And now, let's get to our channeled message, the message from our guides and angels. And our message today is this: storms, when viewed from overhead, from up above, when viewed from the eye of God, can have such symmetry and elegance, such power. Storms can hold untold treasures, treasures we can never imagine if our vision remains earthbound, focused on winds and rains and chaos, focused on havoc, upheaval, uncertainty. Know that there is elegant symmetry in your life that is unfolding now. Know that you are loved beyond all imagining, and that even if you can't see it now, divine order and blessings are present in all of your storms. If you are currently experiencing what feels like maybe even the biggest storm of your life so far, know that it is preparing you. It is clearing things. It is making room for that lovely, uplifting, super fresh feeling that comes when a storm has finally passed. Even if you feel stuck, or thwarted, or denied, no matter what appears to be the case, the actual truth is that there is only one reality, and that is the unfolding creative genius and love of the universe. This is worth believing in. This is where order lies. You are never separate from divine love and divine order. You are never forgotten or rejected or deemed unworthy. Those feelings, when you have them, are an illusion. You never have to earn divine love. All you need to do is to believe it and integrate it. Trust the inherent order of your life. Trust in this as your birthright. Trust it implicitly. Trust the universe and your own inner compass to guide you from chaos to love and wholeness. Well, I hope you enjoyed this channeled message, everyone. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I look forward to visiting again really soon. Until tomorrow, my friends.